So basically this is what we're doing today. It's a hands-on kind of lab, I like to call it. So everybody should have in front of them a Surface. Okay, so this is the latest and greatest offering from Microsoft. Much better than an iPad. I have both.
We'll have to wait and see that program.
Yeah, that looks nice actually. We don't do everything we do is available on the iPad anyway. So, all right. So for these, they open out like this. I can see people are struggling. Okay, so there's your keyboard, and then there's a little kickstand, they call it, at the back. So then you can use your little tray table. That's it. You do it on the right side. There's like a groove, and on the left. Yeah. So I think most of us got that. Okay. So yeah, this is basically a laptop. They're pretty nice devices, just a lot smaller. So.
Since I used it,
I wouldn't say it's quite as good as having a PC, personally, but you just use that, okay? Very good. You know, it shows you can do it. I can't. I tried. All right. So, so the way this is called a CIE session, Customer Immersion Program. So I've been sent by Microsoft to kind of go through this. They've given me this box of tricks out here. Basically, what we get to do today is it's driven by you guys. What do you want to see? Now, I've got a slight agenda. Basically, I want to show you some Microsoft Project, and then I want to show you Project Online, which is the latest and greatest Project Server offering for people that are using that in the past. Okay.
Is that cloud-based? Is that what that is?
Yeah, so let me explain. So Project Server, for those of you who may have heard of it, is a enterprise platform which allows people in an organization to upload projects to a server, and then obviously the organization can run reports on all that information and all the projects going on. You can have a shared resource pool across all of your projects, so that you get a true understanding of how over allocated your resources are across not only your project but everybody else's project. And there are a whole bunch of other things we can do now. For example, there's collaboration sites. So every project in Project Server will have a project site associated with it, which is a SharePoint site, but it's optimized for project management. So it'll have an issues and risks area where we can track those things. It'll have a document library where we can store project documents and things like that. It will have whatever else we want to have in there. Let's have change requests. We want to store all that all in one place. So that will be part of it as well. So it opens up a whole tool set for us, having this enterprise software. Okay. So that's Project Server. Now, Project Online is exactly the same as Project Server for all intents and purposes. There's some very subtle differences, but not that the end user would ever notice. Apart from it's a lot faster. That's the main big thing about it, in my opinion. So Project Online is Microsoft's cloud-based solution. And it's a subscription-based service, so you do not have to have your own infrastructure in-house. Basically, you pay a licensing fee on a monthly basis, and then you get access to it. And it's really nice. I think it's the latest and greatest, and I think it's the best. And it's what I do for a living, and it's great. So we're going to look at Project Online today. For those of you that have used Project Server, which is the on-premises based solution, exactly the same thing, just hosted in your own infrastructure. For those of you who've seen that, you will notice pretty much no difference. There's some extra stuff, but that's about it. All right, so who was in my last session? Pretty much everybody apart from two, so that's good. So we talked about Microsoft Project specifically. So what I want to do, and the way these customer immersion programs are set up, is you get to drive it. Okay, so tell me what you want to know about Microsoft Project to start with. Okay, we're going to do probably about 30 minutes on Project and 30 minutes on Project Online. But what do you want to do? And we're going to guide you through it, and you're going to do it yourself, whatever it is. Does anybody have any idea? If not, I will give you ideas.
But I think the stuff we talked in the last session.
Okay, you want to talk about that? All right, sure.
Basically, I want to see the practical application.
All right. Hopefully this will... No, that's the videoconf.cam laptop. I'm plugged in. Oh, not plugged in, am I? Silly Tom. Come on. There we go. All right. So to start with, everybody has it in front of them. Let's go to the start menu. Does anyone manage to log in to start with using pass at word 1? Anybody not logged in? Okay, good. So the first thing we're going to do, this is Windows 8 running on your tablet here. So for those of you that haven't used it before, I'm going to spoon feed you a little bit. So best thing to do is go down to the bottom left-hand corner. That start menu is still there, believe it or not. It gives you apps. But instead of clicking on the app, you just type project, like so. People complained about that and they brought it back in Windows 10, but you just click there and then start typing what you want. Click enter and there's your application, no clicking involved. Oops. All right, so do you see this login screen? No? You get a bunch of boxes that look like, give me a second, this. Similar, right? Yeah. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is click blank project. Now, if you had templates that you already have, or you want to go out and search online for templates, you can do that as well by clicking search. But we're just going to create one from scratch. So click blank project. Okay, so as 75% of you were in the last class, what's the very first thing we do? Yes, big brains there. So, what's the start date? We're going to start our project next Monday, okay? So, to do that, we click on the project ribbon because we're doing something in regards to a project. Okay? Then, in the project information button, in the properties section of the task, the project ribbon, sorry, project information, and here we go. First of all, it displays the start date. Okay, so we're going to set it for Monday. By default, it gives you today's date. We're going to go for Monday 28th. Once that's done, what's the next thing we do? Calendar. Oh yeah, you're all listening, aren't you? I love it. Calendar. We're going to stick with the out-of-the-box calendar, but if our organization had other ones, and these can be specified on Project Online, which we're going to look at later, you would be able to access any enterprise calendar here. For example, you know, we have offices in Paris, Frankfurt, all different countries. Maybe they have different holidays that they observe. If it's Paris calendar, they use the French one, German calendar, US, England, whatever the case may be. You'd select the calendar here. But for the purposes of this training, we're just going to go for standard, which is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, no exceptions. So everyone works every single day. You know, no Labor Day, no Thanksgiving, nothing. Okay? All right. If we had any custom fields as an organization, we could set those here. And I'll show you some of those later. So we set the start date. You'll notice how the Gantt chart kind of shifted a little bit. You can see the green line in the Gantt chart if you look very carefully on your own screen, probably not on mine. But that's the current date. So it knows that today is end of the day Friday, okay, which is Saturday morning, right? It's kind of, that's where it's lying right now. Monday is the start date of our project. So the first thing we're going to do is enter in tasks. So who can give me a scenario of a project? Make a cup of tea, as I'm British and people always mock me for that. Let's make a cup of tea, shall we? All right, so what's the very first thing we do when we're making a cup of tea? You're American, you don't know. Just kidding. You don't have a kettle. Nobody has kettles in this country. What's going on? Buy a kettle from Best Buy. All right? Buy a kettle. I'm trying to keep it funny, otherwise I'll just fall asleep. Buy a kettle, right? Because you will have Keurigs, but no kettles. It drives me mad. Okay? Because a Keurig doesn't heat it up hot enough for a cup of tea. It's like 90 degrees centigrade. I don't know what that cent is. Anyway, shut up, Tom. All right, so we're buying a kettle. Ah, what's this over here?
Does it default to manual?
Yes. So what do we need to do first? Change it. We need to set up our project options, don't we? So people in the last session, you're gonna, if you weren't in the last session, you're still gonna learn some cool stuff. So basically what we need to do is set the options up to get Microsoft Project working in the way that we want to work. So let's look at some of those options. This is just the first example. The first thing you do is a problem. This kind of blue pin here represents a manually scheduled task, which means on the right-hand side, it hasn't calculated the durations. It has not calculated the start and finish dates. Let me show you the difference between that and an auto-scheduled task with the scheduling engine turned on. Boil kettle. Oh, fill kettle. All right. As soon as we do that, being that it's manually scheduled, what are we getting in comparison? Default durations, 1 day with a question mark. So it says, hey, you need to put this duration in, but we'll guess 1 day for now. It gives you a start date, it gives you a finish date. It gives you a line on a Gantt chart representing that this task has got a start date of 9/28 and it's going to go on for 1 day. The manually scheduled task doesn't give you anything, just like Excel doesn't give you anything. If you put in a task name in Excel, it does not give you a duration, start or finish date. You have to input that yourself. So we don't want to do it like that. So what we're going to do is set the options up so that every new task is auto-scheduled. Okay? And some other options. We're going to go through it. So, File, in the top left-hand corner. Options, down the bottom of the screen. This brings up the Project Options dialog. Okay? From here, we have some settings that we're going to change. So, one of the things I do in here is I'll come in and I'll change the date format. I come in here and I make this 1/28/09. The reason I've done that is it saves real estate on the screen. We don't need to see that it's Wednesday or Monday. No one really cares. We just need to see the date. So instead of it being, Wednesday or whatever one it was before, it's the shortest version to save real estate. There's other options in here, but I'm not going to mess around with my office theme or background color. It doesn't really make any difference. Display. In here, come down to the bottom and see this entry bar. Check that. Once you've checked that, I'm going to press OK just to show you. You can keep your screen up if you like. But now we're getting this Excel-like entry bar at the top of the screen. For anyone that uses Project before, it's kind of difficult when you're inputting or manipulating task names because you don't get this Excel-like entry bar where we can come in, click, just like in Excel. There it is in Microsoft Project. I always use that. Love it. All right. Options. I can hear you whispering. Please no talking at the back of the class. I know, I heard you. I don't like to boast though. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it. It's little things that make lives easier, right? Like, oh, there it is. Now I don't have to click and click and click. It's just annoying. Right? So I'm glad you're enjoying it. I was just giving you a hard time. So entry bar, that's a great one. I always check that. Next one, schedule. So here is where we set up the default working hours. Now these should match our calendar for the project. So in England, we actually work 9 to 5. We don't work 8 to 5. But we have a 30-minute lunch break, so we actually work 37.5 hours a week. Okay. So if I was to be setting that up in here, I would have to come in and adjust that based on my project calendar. We're using the standard American calendar, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. So we don't have to adjust any of that. So basically, hours per day, that specifies how many hours. If I type 1 day duration, that's 8 hours. If I was to put in here 7.5 for an English working day, okay, and then I went into Microsoft Project for 1 day, 7.5 hours work. Makes sense? So this tells the scheduling engine how many hours are in a day, how many days are in hours in a week, how many days in a month, and when does your default start time start, and when is your finish time. Here's what we want though. Manually scheduled. New tasks created are manually scheduled. We want that to specify auto-scheduled. Not only do I want to do it for this project, but I want to do it for every project moving forward. Whenever I create a new project, I don't want to even look at manually scheduled tasks again. You see up here, there's a scheduling option for this project. Click on that. All new projects. Notice how it switches back to manually scheduled. Let's change it for all new projects as well. See that? Okay. So now, whatever options we change in here, whenever we create a new project, it will remember those options too. Sorry, it's Microsoft's, not mine. Okay, moving down. Oh, new tasks are effort driven. Remember that option we were looking at earlier? So you can default for your project if you want new tasks to be effort driven or not. So by default, are we having effort driven or non-effort driven? So if I'm doing a construction project where we're going to be painting rooms, erecting ceilings, and is it the effort, the task is driven by the amount of effort, then yeah, you might want to come in here and say for this project it's going to be effort driven. Like so. I'm not going to do that. For the most part, the reason I don't do that is, for the most part, when I'm putting in durations of tasks, I've already got a rough idea in my head of who's going to be working on it. So I'm just going to say how long it's going to be, add those people, and then when I'm adding them, I know that there's going to be 5 people on that team. Okay, and then that will calculate the work out for me. But that's just the way I run projects. They're not effort-driven projects. Okay, auto-link inserted or moves tasks. By default, it's not checked. If you ever check it, you don't want to check it. Okay, uncheck that one. So basically, if you insert a task between 2 linked tasks, it will link the task you just inserted into that chain of events. Not what you want, because one of the rules that we looked at earlier was unless a true dependency exists. Yes, I love it. You're all listening. Most people will zone out. I would have. Okay, so yes, don't do that. If you're ever tempted, please don't. Okay, scrolling down, that's about all I do in here, actually. Let's go to proofing. Now this is just proofing options. Nothing in here you need to change unless you're working in a different country and you need a different proofing. You can change that here. Saving options. Some of you might like to auto-save. Some organizational policies, when they push out software to machines, they check this auto-save checkbox. Uncheck it. Never have auto-save in Microsoft Project. Okay? You're going to think, oh, that's silly. Why? All right. The reason being, I'll show you. In Microsoft Project, every time you save, look what happens to my undo button. Okay? I need to give it a name. So I'm going to do this now. I'm going to say save as. I'm going to put it on my computer. I'm going to say browse. Put it on my desktop. I'm going to say CIE. Every time I save a project, look what happens to my undo button. Grayed out. Once you save a project, you cannot undo anymore. I undo all the time, and I'm sure most of you do. Right? Control Z or just undo, and the quick access toolbar at the top. Make sure you do not auto-save, because you don't want to be going making a cup of tea and then come back and your computer's saved and now I can't undo the changes, right? So, yeah, do not do the auto-save feature. All right, save. Let's move through this a bit quicker now. So that's the only one I'm doing there. Advanced. Automatically add new resources in tasks. Make sure that one is unchecked. Never have that one checked, and I'll show you why. I'm going to leave it unchecked. Actually, I'm going to check it and show you what happens. So one way to assign a resource, which I don't particularly recommend, is to come into the task name and start typing the resource. That's it. That resource is now assigned. What about for the next task? That resource is now assigned. Same person. 2 different people, but it's automatically added into my resource pool. Not what I want. Okay, so I'm going to undo that, undo that, undo that. Now with that option unchecked, okay, I can count on. The resource you typed is not in the resource pool. Do you want to add it? So I could add it at this point, but at least it's prompting me, you know. Don't just add tasks, add resources to the resource pool willy-nilly. Think about it first. So I am going to add Tom. But then when I add Thomas, same thing again. It's not, oh, but I did have a resource called Tom. Maybe instead of typing names, which I don't recommend, click on the drop down and see your resource pool. All right. So before you start assigning resources, you probably should have already created your resource pool, okay? And that can be done from an enterprise resource pool, or you just gone in and analyzed resources and typed their names in, specified their calendars, you know, available dates, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that when you type in Thomas, it shows Tom is an option, a possible option.
Yeah, it's trying to
You know, if you have more than one option, will it list everybody?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I believe so. I mean, it's trying to type for you, isn't it?
okay.
So if I had Tony, and then I start typing, so it's trying to figure it out, but I think M comes before N, isn't it? So. All right, so we're going a little bit slower than I need to go. So let's move fast. So uncheck that one. That's a great option to uncheck. I usually come down here and make these all M, H, D, W, M, O, and Y. That's to save real estate again. Okay, so that when I collapse all my columns, they can be as tight as I can make them. That's it. That's all I do in here.
This is for this particular project.
Yeah.
It's not, can you make these changes for?
Yeah.
Each one of them is available. Well, not all of them. Most of them. Here, if you see this CIE project, I can say all new projects. See how it switches back? I can do it here for all new projects. So then on my machine, every new project I create will have these settings already configured.
But the effort-driven nodes, you have to set that every time.
Now, you could set that, and that would apply to all projects. Okay. Unless there's a, it depends. Some of the options have this project or all projects. Some of them do not have that option. This one does not have that option, so this is for everything in project. Some of them relate to an individual schedule. Some of them relate to project as a whole. So if I put the entry bar, every new project I create will have the entry bar and existing projects. All right, so we now have that all new tasks are auto-scheduled because we set that setting in the options. So every time I create a new task, so after, let me delete this one out. After fill kettle, we're going to boil. And you can see now they're starting to come up auto-schedule. If you have a manually scheduled task, you can switch it by coming into the task mode column, clicking on the drop down and selecting auto-scheduled. Ooh, we've got the red man icon. Anybody know what that means? Over-allocated resources. You've got Tom working on the same task at the same time. That's a problem. You can't do it. He only works 8 hours per day. These tasks are scheduled at 8 hours per day, so you can't do 2 at the same time. Okay, but we won't worry about that for now. We'll figure that out. So we've got buy a kettle, fill the kettle, boil the kettle, get mugs, put tea bags in mugs. Can't type today. Put the tea bags in the mugs and then fill the mug with water. After it's brewed, remove the tea bag, right? Some people don't, but I do. Remove the tea bag and then add the milk. And then once you've added milk, I like to add the sugar, if applicable. Not in my case. I'm sweet enough. And then drink it. And then after that, tea making complete. So you see how easy it is to put in tasks. And you'll remember in the previous scenario, I actually I said once you put all the tasks in, you do a brain dump and then put them into chronological order. I kind of put them in chronological order as I was typing. But if that wasn't the case, or I need to make a correction, let's say, for example, I like to put the sugar in before the milk. Okay, I could highlight that row by clicking on the ID number on the left-hand side. You get the 4-way arrow, you could drag it up one. There we go. So now I just reordered them. Get them into the chronological order that you like. Once you've done that, we now need to start linking our tasks. No, sorry, the next step is to edit the duration. What else can we estimate? The work. Right, let's do both. How do I see the work column now? I can't see it here. Right click, insert column, work. So by default, each one of these two up here.
Actually, I have a question with this. How do we write click on the surface.
Does it not have 2 buttons? So just right click on the, it's a touchpad, isn't it? On the right hand side.
Oh, that's, oh, okay.
Kind of like an Apple. Copycats. So you know you have the touchpad. So just do it on the far bottom right hand corner. No, on the not the touch screen, the touchpad on your just below your keyboard. Click in the bottom right hand corner. That work? If not, on the right hand side, you see this add new column. You can click that and type work. And then you can actually click it and drag it over, like so. So Microsoft Project's kind of like an Access database, an Excel spreadsheet kind of merged into one. It looks like a spreadsheet for all intents and purposes, but it's got all these different columns that you can add. In Microsoft Project, every single task has every single column, and as we saw, there's a lot. Every task has every single one of these columns associated with it. It just might not be in view, just like a database. Okay? So work was always there in the background, it's just we weren't looking at it. All right, so what we want to do is estimate the durations. How long does it take to buy a kettle? Well, we'll go for 2 days on that one. I like to do my market research. Fill the kettle. Oh, that one probably takes 0.5 of a day. Obviously, we're being a bit silly here, but you get the idea. Boil the kettle. That takes a day. Getting the mugs. That would take 2 hours. 2 H on the keyboard. Okay. Put the tea bags in mugs. 1 day. Fill the mugs with water. 0.5 days. Remove the tea bag. And if you're not getting the durations exactly the same as mine, doesn't matter. Okay. Remove the tea bags. 2 days. Add the sugar. 5 days. Add the milk. 3 days. Drink it. 9 days. Tea making complete. Now this is a milestone task. 0 days duration. Someone said that in the crowd. That's great. So to make a task into a milestone, we simply take the duration down to 0 days. Okay? And we can see now it appears as a diamond in the Gantt chart. All right. One other thing. I want to summarize all of these tasks going on. Because perhaps after my tea making phase, I'm going to do a coffee making phase. Right? So phase 1, make tea. I want a summary task to represent this phase. In order to do this, and we talked about this earlier, but I didn't touch on it, we click on the very top task that we want the summary task to appear above, and we click Insert on the keyboard, like so. Now, I think Insert might be difficult to find. If it is, I'll undo that and show you another way. Click on the Task ribbon. Click on the Task drop-down here on the Insert section of the Task ribbon. Now, yours might look slightly different because my resolution of my screen has condensed my menus somewhat. Click on the Task drop-down, and no, take that back. There's a Summary Task button here. Right, click Summary. Yours may look slightly different to mine. Click that. And now we have a new Summary Task inserted into our schedule. I'm going to call this one tea making. No, make tea. All right, so we've got the summary task, and we can see that buying the kettle is part of it, but the rest of them are not. I know that because the buying the kettle is slightly indented. Okay, you can see that compared to the rest. So what I need to do is indent the rest to be part of the summary task. Because at the moment, if I can even collapse this make tea, and the only thing it's kind of dragging up is the buy the kettle. So that's the only thing that's part of the summary. So I'm going to click on these ones here, click drag down, and in the schedule section of the task ribbon, we click indent, like so. Now that they're indented, they are all part of my phase. Make a cup of tea. If I roll up making a cup of tea, we know that it is 9 days duration and it's 20 hours of work currently. Pretty cool, right? So that's how these summary tasks can collectively summarize phases within your project. So if you have stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as most people do, perhaps you've named them, you can actually see how long those phases and stages are going to take. Pretty awesome.
Mine's still showing 12 hours.
Okay, don't worry too much about the work, okay? Because we haven't. I actually added these resources sporadically. I shouldn't have added them at all. Okay. All right. So the next thing we do is what? Dependencies. Correct. Linking the tasks together. Dependencies. There's two real ways to do that. There's more, but there's two ways that people generally do this. The first way, my preferred method, is to click on one task, for example, buy a kettle and fill the kettle. Click on the first task, drag down to the second task. And in the schedule section of the task ribbon, you will click the link selected tasks button, like so. And you can see that buy a kettle is now preceded by fill the kettle. Other way around, succeeded by.
It's better to select all the tasks that you have.
You're getting ahead of me. There's always one with a big brain, isn't there? So that's just one example of one to the other. Another way to do it is you can, in fact, come down here, start at the top, drag down to the bottom, and link them all in one go. But
You want to sugar.
I'm glad Bill's not in the room. You wouldn't be happy about his poor surfaces. Did you crack the screen?
No.
Oh. That would have been funny. He's got enough money, Bill, isn't he? Oh, love it. I got an iPad in my Microsoft gave me an iPad as well. I don't give it out because I use it as my personal device now. But yeah, they got Surfaces. I got Androids, Windows phones, iPhones, everything that people can play with for these sessions. All right, I just prefer the Surfaces because you can get everyone's got the same device. All right, but one of the rules, we could like drag down and link them all, but what was one of the rules? Don't link tasks unless a true dependency exists. There's not always a linear structure to a schedule. Now, for example, buy a kettle, fill the kettle, that's right. Boil the kettle, yeah, you've got to fill it before you boil it, that's right. Get the mugs, yeah, but you could kind of do that anytime, really, couldn't you? Before you even bought the kettle, you could buy some mugs or get them ready. So I'm going to delete the predecessor for that task. I'll move over to the predecessor column, press delete. There is no predecessor. You can get the mugs at any point. So don't link it unless a true dependency exists. Put the tea bags in the mugs. Well, I have to get the mug first, right? So that's right. Fill the mug with water. You've got to boil it first. So 7 should be linked to boil, right? So to do this, it's a couple of ways. I'm going to click on boil, hold down the control key on the keyboard, and then click on fill. You have to use the control key to do this. Okay. Then link them.
It's also dependent on get
what's also dependent on? You can boil the kettle before you've got the mugs.
I mean, fill the mug is dependent on boil and.
Okay, yeah, but we've got to get the mugs. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. We've got to get the mugs. That's the first thing. We can do that at any point from the project start date. Then we put the tea bags in the mugs. I always put the tea bag in before because I want to get that submersion. I want to like put the water on top of it so it sinks. Okay. Then fill the mug with water. So because there's a structure here, get the mugs, then put the tea bags in, then fill the water. I don't need to link fill the water to the get the mugs because they're linked already. Yeah, they're in the chain of events. They're a prior event. It's happening before. It's in the previous chain of events. Okay, so fill the mugs with water. Once that's done, remove the tea bags. That's right. But I like to leave my tea bag in for 2 minutes exactly. So before I can remove the tea bags, I need what? Check my watch, but I want to schedule it.
It's a lead time or
Lag time. Yep. So To model a lag, I'm going to click on the link between the two tasks. Quite difficult. You can see I've got my mouse right over it. Get the task dependency dialog. This is the only way to get this dialog up. I wish there was another way, but there isn't. And in here, I'm going to put I like 2 minutes. 2M. Okay. Moved very, very slightly. You get the idea, right? Probably be more like 2 days in the real world, you know. But I put a lag. That's the way to do that. Okay, so once I've removed the tea bag, I can add the sugar, add the milk. Well, adding the sugar and adding the milk.
Just information. We can add the lag as well into the information panel.
Yes, there is another way. You can, before you remove the tea bag, you can double click on it. This gives you the task information dialog. You can then click on predecessors and add a lag here as well. Similar way, yeah. It's not quite the same.
It's hard to click on that.
I know, I agree. Yeah, it is there. It is difficult. Okay, so once you've removed the tea bag, we can add the sugar and add the milk in any order you want, right? So how do I do that? For this scenario, I'm going to put the predecessor for the add the sugar and add the milk to be the same. So 8 and 8. So both add the sugar and add the milk are only dependent upon removing the tea bag. That's something that I do like to do first. I always remove the tea bag before I put the sugar and the milk in. So we can see how they are now scheduled to start at the same time.
Doesn't have to adjust the drink.
There's a problem, right? Yeah. So we're going to be starting drinking before we've added the sugar. See that? So what do we need to do? Well, let me show you another way to link two tasks together. I don't usually use this way. You can actually go on the Gantt chart, click on one and drag to the other. That'll do it as well. Now we're good. We're drinking it, then the tea making is complete. So I need to make tea making complete, done after we've drunk it. That's right. So our schedule is perfectly scheduled out now. Our logic is all sound, and we can see the structure of our schedule now. So we've gone in and we've put the logical dependencies in. Now if anything changes, we can see the instant effects. For example, if it takes the boil, if the kettle is really slow to boil, you know, we didn't know when we bought it, but it actually takes 5 days to boil. We enter that in the duration. We can see what's happened to our project as a result. We just pushed it out by another 3 or 4 days. If we look at the change highlighting here, we can see which dates are affected by that most recent change. So, you know, the boil in the kettle, the finish date's has changed. You see the blue, yeah, you can see it, blue highlighting. We can also see that from fill mug with water onwards, the start and finish dates of those tasks has all been adjusted. And you see that with the blue change highlighting. So once you've got your structure, you can see, if your manager comes up to you and says, if we increase the duration of, you know, it's going to take us 20 days to fit the roof as opposed to 10, what's that going to do to your project? Well, most people will be like, well, I don't really know. If you've got a project schedule, give me a second. You could even do it on your phone. Our new finish date is going to be this date, based on what you just said. And that would take into consideration the people working on it, the working hours of those people working on it, the availability of certain things being available or not, okay? The working hours, everything will be taken into consideration. And as soon as you update that duration, you know that it's factually correct, what you're telling them. Within seconds, you can tell them. All right, save our work. File, save as, computer, because you can now save to all these different areas that are starting to become more prevalent. Okay, OneDrive, SharePoint sites. In fact, I know one person that is not even saving to his local machine anymore. A lot of people are just not saving to their personal computers anymore. I still am. Takes me a while to adapt, but I will. I just don't think that OneDrive's for personal use, it's not secure right just yet. OneDrive for business, which has just come out, is secure, and it's something that I will use, but I just haven't got around to it yet. But yeah, I'm going to say to my computer, browse, slam it on the desktop, call it CIE, press save, we're good. I already did that, so I'm going to replace it.
You get a copy, even if you say the SharePoint, you get a copy. You have a copy.
Really?
So yeah, if you're not connected, you can still open it.
Oh yeah, it caches a copy for you, yeah.
So now let's do a status. You know, like you talked in the last call. Can we do that?
Let's do it in Project Server because it will take less setup. It's already there. Okay. All right. So we've done this. What I want to do now is, how are we doing for time? We'll be halfway through. What time does this one finish? 12:20. So we've got 30 minutes. Okay. So I want to spend some time in Project Server. So
That's a good thing. Like 16 hours. How did you get that?
Okay, great question. So let's talk a little bit about resources. We've got a bit more time, and if we don't get to the Project Server, that's all right. Okay, so let's talk about resources. When you assign a resource, Microsoft Project calculates out the work based on the number of assigned resources for you. Okay, so when I assign one resource to a 2-day task, I'd specify the duration. If I don't specify the units, the assignment units, Microsoft Project will assume 100%. So 8 hours a day equals 16 hours of work. Okay. So if I assign somebody to the 5-day task here, Mr. Tom here, how many hours of work will he get? 40. If I assign Mr. Tom and Mr. Tony, how many hours will this task have?
20. No.
It depends on what would make the difference between 20 or 40. Effort driven, yeah. So at the moment, I have not got effort driven checked. Okay, so watch what happens. 80 hours work for the task. Now to check the effort driven, I'm going to bring up my task dependency dialog. No, I'm not. I'm going to bring up my task form. View ribbon, details checkbox. Here it is, the task form. So remember how it wasn't effort driven? If it was effort driven, let's unassign Tony. Click effort driven. And now I'm going to assign Tony as well. Oh, wait a second. I need to change something. It calculated out the work for me. I need to switch that back to 40. Okay, so I've got Tom working on the task. It's now effort driven. Let's put Tony on there as well. The work will be split between the 2 resources, 20 apiece. If I uncheck effort driven and assign a 3rd resource, Mike, he gets 20 hours as well. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. But the duration has now gone down. All right. Okay, so that's a little bit about resources. I can't get into it too much. We don't really have time. I want to show you some other stuff. But that's why the work was calculated. Every time you assign a resource, it calculates the work for the task based on the number of resources and how those resources are set up. All right, so there's one thing. Is that good? Does anyone have any burning questions before we move on from Microsoft Project? It's a real basic how to set up a schedule. We didn't have a chance to do the rest of the process that we looked at earlier, but it gives you an idea. All right, cool. Let's minimize Microsoft Project. And what I want you to do, you should have a favorite saved called portal.office.com or Office 365 portal, I believe. So we're going to go to Internet Explorer now. And if you don't have this favorite saved, please go to https://portal.office.com. I'll bring that up on screen now. So if everybody opens Internet Explorer and navigate to this URL, there should be a favorite saved.
What is the favorite? File into Office 365?
Yep.
Okay.
There's only one favorite, I think, on each machine. If you don't know how to access that, just type this. Pretty simple. All right, once there, I'll give you a few seconds more. Everyone look up, look, eyes on me once you're done. So portal, https://portal.office.com into the Internet Explorer. Okay, I think most of us are there, one or two more. Is there a question? Oh, you're jumping ahead of me. You're jumping ahead of me. All right, so once we're there, we need to sign in. Okay, so you're probably seeing this screen. Okay, so on your machine, you will see like Amy A or Mike T or whatever your persona name is. For example, this persona is Alan S, ID. Right, it says ID Alan S. So I'm going to put in here Alan S. Okay, at. Now this is where it gets a bit complicated. .75 COM 836253. So Alan S, or whatever your persona name is,
What if we don't have?
you can use, forgot about that, you can use Karen B, Karen B. Karen B at 75 COM 836253. All right. 73 COM 83653. Thank you. Okay. Ready for the next bit? .onmicrosoft.com. So let me bring up my whole URL here as well. And if I had more time to set up, I would have already done this for you, but someone was in here when I arrived. So it's something similar to this. .onmicrosoft.com. Your password is actually at the bottom of the screen. It's simply PASS at word 1. I'm going to bring that up on screen as well.
Save the password.
I'm going to type it for you. Pass at word 1. Sorry, yeah, can't spell today. Pass at word 1. Yeah. Logged into it 2 days ago. Give me a second. Alan S 75.
You have 73 as the tenant name? Yeah, 75 is
75com 836253.onmicrosoft.com, right? All right, mine's working. Anybody else not working? Yours isn't working?
Yeah, I don't think I had the right string after Amy after that.
Okay. Amy A at 75, is it? Sorry, my bad. 75 COM 836253.onmicrosoft.com. All right, so I'm going to leave that on screen. I'm going to talk for a second. So for those of you that haven't seen Office 365 before, this is Office 365. Okay. In here, we have every Office application you can imagine, okay? And on those computers, the surfaces, you have every Office application you can imagine. So in this particular tenant, this is called a tenant, we have these ones here. Projects is the one we're going to look at today, but look at all these different options.
So if you have Microsoft 360, Office 365,
Yeah,
you have projects already.
maybe. Depends if you bought that. So when you have Office 365, you subscribe to different agreements. So there's an E3 agreement for those of you in commercial. With that, you would get a bunch of stuff, not including project. If you want project, it's a per user per month basis. And it's from $7 a month per user per month. So it's pretty reasonable.
You said if you have 365 with Microsoft project, that replaces the server?
So, okay, so the way it works is if you want project online, if you have already got Microsoft Office 365, Microsoft will actually put this little tile, for all intents and purposes, they put this tile available in your Office 365 tenant. That is your project online area, okay? That would replace your in-house project server, okay? So let's go ahead and click on it. Did you manage to get in? Great. Let's click on projects. This leads us to our project online environment. When it finally gets there. And it's not working out today. Well, I'm sorry about that. Is it anybody get in? Okay, so a few. I apologise to those that didn't, but I don't have time to stop and fix it right now. Just have a look on screen. I'm going to show you everything, all right? So let's click projects in the top left-hand corner. This shows us all of the projects going on within this organisation. So we can see the timeline at the top of some key projects, the e-commerce portal project. We can see the name of all these projects down here. So we have BYOD marketing campaign, things like that. If we scroll down, we can see more. We can even create different views to get a real high-level dashboard kind of view of what's going on. Maybe I can't. Let's look at summary. Oh, I had summary. Tracking. So this particular tracking view shows me the tasks, the project's name, percent complete, actual cost, actual duration, actual start dates, all that kind of stuff. And you can configure these views to show you anything you want. Okay.
Where did you pull that tracking? What did you do?
So from the project center, where you click on projects on the left-hand side, then you'll have this data section up here. If you don't see that, click projects ribbon. It does have a habit of hiding away. Then click tracking. All right. So here's all the different projects. What I want to do is drill down and take a look at one of these individual projects. Can anybody guess how I do that? Click on the project. Yep. So let's just click on one. Contoso Health Assessment. All right. So here we can see high-level information about the project. Remember I was talking about custom fields. This is where we can specify custom fields. This is where we can update them if we wanted. We don't have to do it in Microsoft Project. We can do it right here in this beautiful form. So here's project details. Here is the actual schedule itself. If we click on schedule, we're going to see the detailed WBS right here in the browser on any device. Pretty sweet. Here's the timeline that you would have been used to in Microsoft Project itself. We can look at different strategic values. So if you're doing portfolio analysis, you can rank different projects based on strategic goals and kind of figure out which project you should run based on how each project aligns to the different strategic goals. Not going to talk too much about that, but if you're into that kind of stuff, it's all achievable within the tool. And if we click project information, there's just another project information page that allows us to specify other information about the project. What it does, when's the start date, which department is this project a part of. And obviously, the more information or the more metadata you specify with regards to projects, If you want to run a report on all this information, you can slice and dice it by all these different areas that you've specified as an organization. Let's say if I was a multinational company, I'd like to know which office each project is going to be run out of. So then I can drill into the projects, show me all the projects that are run in our London office, show me all the ones that are done in our Charlotte office, or show me Charlotte and Atlanta projects. You know, the more information you specify, the more you can slice and dice the data. Let's look at the project site for the project. Remember I was talking about this earlier, it's collaboration. So for every project that you have in Project Online, you will have, and the same applies to Project Server, by the way, synonymous pretty much, okay? Oh, I don't have permission, brilliant. Everybody else should probably get that as well. It's because I'm logged on as Amy. I should probably log on as the admin. Give me a second. So what I'm going to do now, and this is kind of an interesting point, I'm going to log in as the admin at 75 COM. What terrible memory. Let me just copy and paste it. So as an administrator, I can see all and do all. Okay. So back to where we were. I'm going to click on a project, and I want to look at the collaboration features within a given project. So I click on the project site on the left-hand side, and in here we have all kinds of cool stuff. So who uses OneNote? 1, 2, just 2 of you? Okay. 3 of you? 4 of you? Okay, good. If you're not using OneNote, if you don't take anything else from today, go download OneNote. It's probably already on your machine. It's awesome. Right? I only got onto it about 2 years ago. I was a late adopter, to be honest, but it is great. It is unbelievable. Anyway, everyone that has used it, every single project site has its own notebook. So I'm going to click Notebook. It's on Project Server too, if you configure it. You have to know what you're doing. So in here, there's already a meeting. Somebody's started talking about this meeting. I want to add my own notes to this meeting. So I can come in here and I can add a new page for meeting 1, Tom's notes. And if anybody else has access, they could come in here and start creating their own pages in here. And we can collaborate on meeting minutes. So Tom's CIE went okay. His presentation was better, I'd say. All right, so I've written a note here. Everybody on my project team can see that. Everybody on my project team can subscribe to that. If I want to open it in OneNote itself, I click Open in OneNote. This is my OneNote opening on my own personal machine. It's downloading everything, but I could see the other meeting minutes right here in OneNote. This is the actual application, the client itself. So the reason I like it is I can have all these different notebooks, and within each notebook, I can have different pages. Okay. Not only that is I can open it on my iPhone or tablet or Surface or whatever, and I can access the same notes. And they're updated in real time. There's no saving involved. As soon as you get an internet connection, it'll update it in the cloud. Not only that, you can share it. I could say, right, share this notebook with someone else. If it was my own notebook in my personal OneNote and I created a notebook, I can share it with anyone I want. Share it with all of you in the room just by putting an email. You would get an email saying, hey, Tom shared a notebook with you, click here. It would open it in your OneNote and you're good to go. So OneNote is great. Kind of getting off topic, but get involved. All right, so once I'm done with OneNote, I'm going to go back. So every project site has a OneNote. That alone is just like brilliant to me. Because, you know, usually when you're sharing meeting minutes around, it's just being emailed. No one's really tracking it. No one knows who's got the best notes. You know, put it all in one place and let everybody read everybody's notes. So if you're not at the meeting, it doesn't really matter. You know, you just can't contribute, but you can absorb. All right. So back to my project site. There's OneNote. We also have document libraries. In here, you can actually specify at an organizational level which project documents you want people to use. Let's say I have a project initiation document, a project charter, I have a change request form, I have whatever other project documents you have in your organization. You can have it so that when you click on the new button, those documents come up here. And you can update them at the cloud level so that every single project site has the latest document template, so that when someone starts creating a document from scratch, they have the latest template just there. You can't see them here, they're not there, but you can do that. So that's a pretty cool feature. Ultimately, using project document libraries within Project Online, you're utilizing SharePoint. So you have the multiple editors, so you can have people working on the same document at the same time, both in the cloud and on their Word as well. You can edit it at the same time. Or you can go for check-in and check-out and version control. And you can do all of that within SharePoint here. We have calendars. I like to think of these as team calendars that people can kind of come in here. Here's all of our team meetings. Here's when our team get-togethers are, or social gatherings. Here's the outage dates for our server upgrade, all that kind of stuff the team needs to be aware of. You can put that all in here. And what's even better is people can subscribe to that in Outlook. You just click a button and it opens the calendar in Outlook. You don't have to do anything else. Simple.
So this is in SharePoint?
Kind of. Everything that we've looked at here is SharePoint. However, Project Online is a SharePoint application. It's a heavily configured and customized SharePoint application, but it uses the backbone of SharePoint. Okay, so this is a project site associated with one project within our Project Online environment. So this site can only be used by people that are working on that project, if that's the way you want it set up.
Okay.
So only project team members will have access to this site. You can even set it up so that only people that are assigned to do some work on the project can edit the stuff, but everybody else can view it, but not edit. Stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Okay. We can also track issues and risks. Who tracks issues and risks using risk registers and issue registers and stuff like that? Everybody, right? If not, you haven't got your PMP, like me. Okay. Look at this. You can create a new risk or a new issue. You probably recognize a lot of this stuff, like, you know, probability and impact, and it calculates the magnitude for you. So PMI stuff, I believe. Okay, so I can come in here and put a new risk. So let's say power outage due to gas shortage. How much more time have I got? 12:20. 5 minutes. All right. We're nearly through it. Okay, so I can assign this to somebody. I'm going to assign it to the admin, which is me. Searching for that admin person. There it is, CIA administrator. Good, done. Active, postponed, or closed. We're going to leave this one active. I can give it a probability. I think this 40% will happen. If it does happen between 1 and 9, oh, it's pretty bad power outage. It's going to really mess up our project. I'm going to go for 8. What's the cost should it happen? Oh, well, I can't even calculate, but I'm going to put 30,000. I could describe it. I could even put in a mitigation plan. What am I going to do? Backup generator. Oh, that's contingency plan, isn't it? Mitigation plan is purchase generator. Contingency plan is use generator. But you'd probably have to downgrade on what energy you're using because it's only a limited number of amount of power. And trigger description, all kind of other stuff. Save it. And there it is. Not only that, I've assigned it to myself. So in my PWA homepage, I'll show you in a minute, it will show up, hey, Tom, you've got a risk that's been assigned to you that you need to deal with. Okay? Pretty cool. The same thing applies to issues, pretty much exactly the same. And that's about it. You can create any other stuff you want in here. Let's say I want a change request form, just like the issue and risk form. You can do that. You can get really creative. And that's the kind of stuff that Campana's shot will actually come out and help you to decide, hey, you've got this piece of paper, let's put it in the system as a form.
If you create change request form, will it reflect in the PWA? I mean, risk and issues and developments are already reflected in the project itself. If you create a change request, how would that be?
It doesn't actually, you can't assign someone and it doesn't show up in there because it's you could do some custom code to do it, but out of the box, only the issues and risks lists and the project documents library will show up in PWA.
Give me examples of reports, like dashboards.
I'm glad you asked that question. Yes, I do. What kind of reports? Power BI? You've seen Power BI before? If you have anyone that hasn't seen Power BI, you haven't seen it? Woo! All right, you're going to like this. All right, so this is Power BI. Basically, Power BI allows me to ask my project server or anything that exists in SharePoint questions. So I'm going to go to my sales and marketing portal, which is where we had the project online. And I want to ask it some questions. Give me an example of a question you'd like to find out, general information you'd like to gather from. Oh, sorry. Give me an example of a reporting question that you might want to say. For example, I'll give you one. Which project is going to cost the most? Or show me all the projects by cost. Right? Your boss might come to you and say, I need to know in ascending order which projects are costing me the most. Right? Well, you might have to go and see the developer guy to create your report, to query all the information. All right? I can just come in here and ask it a question. Almost done. Come on. Okay, here we go. Right. Projects. Delayed projects. I don't think I think the internet's running slow. It's not. It should pick it up and figure out what I'm trying to write. Here we go. It's loading. If I had decent internet, it'd be fast. Okay, here we go. So I think it's figuring it out now. Okay, projects with the most assignments. There we go. Projects with the most assignment actual cost. Click on that. Perhaps I want to see it as a pie chart. As pie. See what's happening on screen? It's listening to my questions and answering it and giving me stuff. Give me another example. Resources with the most assignments. There we go. You already figured it out. That's the question I wanted to ask. As line. Oh, that's cool, isn't it? Or as pie. As pie, by department maybe. By resource. If I had a custom field that was specifying the department that each resource was in, I'd be able to, filter it down. Pretty cool, right? Don't think I have that though, as private. There you go. By resource departments and resource name. There we go. It did work. So we can see resources by department, which departments have the most. So obviously we haven't got many departments specified for our project, unfortunately, but you can see that the IT has the most assignments. Pretty cool, right?
Yes.
This is the kind of stuff that we set up all the time now, and this is the stuff that people are using. And if you're not using it, you really need to kind of, if you're one of those decision makers that kind of pushes the project management office forward, who doesn't need this, right?
So PMI is just a module.
within 365. Yeah, it's a very reasonably priced one. In fact, I mean, end users, it's free. So if you set it up, it costs you. Yeah. Anyway, I think we better stop. Thank you very much, everybody.